Hello Maeya TV, my name is Eligia. I'm your host as usual. Today I am joined by director, producer, and writer Michael Baumgarten.
Hey.
Hello. It's
Hello.
lovely to have you here. I'm a fan of your work and I hope we get to know you a little bit better, sort of what got you into film and your upcoming projects. This is very exciting, you've got many. So let's start off with where you grew up and what made you want to join film.
I grew up in Key West, Florida during the 70s, and my parents went through a divorce when I was about 9, and my mother had a second job. Her first job was at Sears, customer service, and then it turned into, basically she had a second job because she had 4 kids, so she had a second job where she brought me to work, which was a movie theater. So since I was the youngest of 4, the baby, she brought me to work, and I would sit down and watch amazing movies. And during a time of divorce, that was my altar. That was my place to get away, my peaceful place to where there's no yelling, no tension, you know, no toxic space. It was just me watching movies. And I'm like, you know what? If I ever have the chance in life to basically do this, to create these worlds where you get to have an adventure and an escape, I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I lived in Florida, so there's not much of that. But while I was there, I got to build up a wonderful movie poster collection as like a kid. So my walls were all like these movie posters.
Yeah.
That there was cool.
Oh, that's incredible. Did you have any like early influences that you really remember that stood out? Like a favorite poster maybe?
Jaws.
Oh, really?
I lived on
Classic.
an island.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
So I lived on an island. So just like when I saw Jaws, I'm like, wait a second. I swim. And, you know, it's like, this is scary to me.
Yeah.
So to me, that was great, but it was bad.
Yeah.
But it was cool, though.
Yeah. So when did you fly over to, you know, Hollywood and LA and all that?
Well, I then spent some years in Virginia Beach. And I had some friends of mine there. And what happened was my mom got married to a guy that was in the Navy. So Virginia Beach, you know. So with that, there were some friends down the street, and his mother would always take him to the movies, and I would go along. So I would go along, and we would go to the movies constantly. Then there was the midnight shows. And somehow at 14 years old, I was out till 2 a.m. going to these midnight movies like Rocky Horror, Picture Show, Pink Floyd's The Wall, and all these things. And I was like, wow, I'm learning a lot of so many movies that I would not see. And that was just about the time that HBO began, you know, to where people had HBO at home. That was just around that time. And then I wound up in Orlando, Florida. And then I went to high school there in a little town called Oviedo, which is near the University of Central Florida, where just like the Blair Witch guys came from. And then from there, I met a lot of wonderful friends there. And then came Universal. We found out that Universal was going to open up there.
Yeah.
Disney World was there. Then they started Disney Studios there. And then I began to work as a PA on just like those lots. And then I was working at a club, and a bunch of people came through that were doing work at these studios. One of them was like this wonderful guy named, hold on, what's his name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Wonderful director. His last name, we'll just skip that one. Okay.
You'll come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So he actually was the dude that brought me on to do MTV spring break shows. And he's like, because he looked at my curriculum from Valencia where I was going to film school. And he looked at it, he was like, you know, you're not learning much there, so come work on our show. And I was like, great. So I went and worked on 4 MTV spring breaks, like by year. 1990, 91, 92, 93. But during 92, my father was killed. So I really saw the world as life is too short. If I'm going to really do this, I need to move to Los Angeles. Where a friend of mine named Don the Dragon Wilson, said to me, look, if you're in Florida, I can't help you. You gotta be in Los Angeles. It's the only way I can really help you out. So he had a film that was about to start in June 1993 called Red Sun Rising. And he was like, hey, there's a job, if just in case you want it. So I was like, okay, I'm moving out. He's like, great. And I got here on a Wednesday, began on a Monday, and that was my first film.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Here in Los Angeles. And there was a day where there was a set where we were wrapping out, and I could see miles away the Hollywood sign. And as I'm sitting there getting paid crap, I'm wrapping up, at like the end, the end of the day, and I couldn't have been happier. Because I was here.
It was like a you made it moment, but it was
Yes.
very early on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was simply wrapping electrical cords, just wrapping the cables. But the fact that I was doing it in front of the sign in the distance, I'm like, millions of people around the world will never get this far to where I have a chance, you know what I mean, to do all that. And that there was great.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So that's how I wound up here.
Yeah, so that's quite a beginning, but like since then you've had so many. How many years have you been doing this?
Officially 34 years.
Wow, that's incredible. So congratulations on that. It's a hard industry to be in sometimes.
Yes, it is.
And you worked with incredible people. I want to talk about some of your projects because
Sure.
you have so many. So there's one that you shot in 3.5 days, right?
Yes.
So can you tell us about that project?
Yeah, I had a lot of people that were on Facebook and Instagram saying, looking for investors for a short film. And I'm like, why do you even need investors for a short film?
Yeah.
Just take a weekend and make a short film.
Yeah.
Why do you need investors? I mean, when I did my first short film, it was film, not an iPhone.
Yeah.
It was actual film. I had to pay for film for 13 rolls at like $100 a roll.
Yeah. It's back days.
Processing, and that only got you 11 minutes. That's it. $100 for 11 minutes. That was it. And then next thing you know, I was like, okay, I'm going to show people that you can make a feature film for about the price of a short film. So I designed a movie that I could make, what was basically like a weekend type shoot. Shot the whole movie in 3.5 days, under 30 set hours. That there was it, and it's a feature film. It's 81 minutes with end credits. And it's called, and it's a film called basically Kyle's Pocket Dial. And it's about a girl that gets a missed call from her ex, and she can't help looking at that phone wondering why he called. So she calls him back, and he claims he didn't call her. Oops. But still they talk for the next hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a whole fun thing about them as they go back through the highs and lows of their relationship after catching up. And it's dramatic. The actress that I cast, I had put her in a movie called Hollywood Laundromat a couple of months before that, and I had seen the amazing work she did when she only had one scene and she had a couple of lines. And looking at her through that lens, I'm like, she's a wonderful actor. So her name is Britt Crisp. And I saw her and I was like, she's a wonderful actor, but she hasn't been given the chance to show what she can do yet. So I put her in this lead role and she killed it. And there's a part of it where she has a scene that her take on it is like more than 12 minutes long. And I stayed on her because most of the movie's in split screen because they're both on a call.
Yeah.
But then once she went into this 12-minute brilliant performance, I just had her be full screen. And then we only heard him. Because what she gave us in that 12 minutes, she won Best Actress at a recent film festival for her performance. And just like that film, she killed it. And now she's working, a lot, and she's now SAG.
Yeah, that's incredible because
So
yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah, because this is not the first time it happens where you work with young actors and that are very promising. Can you tell us about the martial arts kid?
Sure.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful film where Don Wilson gave me a chance to make a movie with him. And his brother James said, look, we need to do something different for Don because he's already made 30 plus movies and kind of doing the same thing in a lot of them. So they had seen a movie that I had done called Smitty, which was a boy and dog film. And they were amazed by all the families that showed up. Where most of Don's films were rated R. And there's a heavy body count because he kills so many people in the films. So for them to go to the movies and see all these families and tears and all that kind of stuff, they were like, Michael, why don't you make a movie with Don that's like this, but let's do one for family, and now it's a whole new audience for Don. So I said, okay, and we came up with the martial arts kid, and James worked with me a lot to help me understand why it needed to be, the way it was in terms of what martial arts was versus what MMA was. You know what I mean? So, which martial arts is more traditional, and there's a respect and all that kind of stuff that is behind it in a way that the MMA doesn't really have. So what occurs is I wrote this script along with a friend of mine named Adam, and it turns into this wonderful script that we like. And we're like, okay, so let's go. There was a Kickstarter that we raised like $173,000. So we didn't have to raise all of the money from private investors. And then it became us casting. And luckily I had wonderful choices that came through the door for certain roles. And Jansen Panettiere came in, and I didn't know who he was. I just knew the look, and I loved the look that he had and the vibe he brought. He wanted that role. And when he did a backflip, I was like, okay, all right. So it was just like kind of thing where he really wanted that role. And then I had Sydney Sweeney, who's now huge, and she also came in. She came through a friend of mine named Andy McPhee, who she was training with as just like an actor, and he recommended her. She came in. I thought she was great. And then Catherine Newton came in, who's now also huge, and she had done, I think, 2 feature films before this. And so I had seen one of them, which was called Paranormal Activity 4 for Blumhouse, and I had seen that one, and I was like, okay, so I will basically put Catherine Newton as my lead, and Sydney, I'm gonna write in a role for her, because I told her she would be in the film, and I meant it. So I created a role for her. She was cool. She did her role. She did great. And now she's a wonderful, amazing, Emmy-nominated actress. So I'm happy for them, for all of the stuff that they're doing. I mean, the wings are out and they're flying.
Yeah.
They're flying high. And I'm so thrilled to have had a chance to work with them at a stage where we could afford them. So that there was nice.
Yeah, I'm sure they also appreciated being championed by, anyone who gives them roles, especially so young in their careers. So, okay, let's talk about a couple other projects. So, you have a film that was 2020 film, right?
Yes.
That is going to get re-released?
Yeah, it was a movie that we had the film, but we didn't have a film that was in HD because it was still standard definition world when we delivered it. It hadn't turned HD world yet. So last year I talked to the investor. I was like, look, we have opportunities on streaming if we could deliver the film in HD. So he allowed me to go get the 35 millimeter film scanned. So luckily I had held on to it in my closet for 20 years plus. So, and that was nice. And so we scanned it. It turned out good. It was like it looked really good. So we put the sound on it, And now we're going to re-release the film, probably under a new title. But what was interesting about that film is how many people we had. It was a little movie that was directed by Oliver Robbins, who was the little kid from Poltergeist films, and he's a friend of mine. To like this day, we still talk and we still make films. And then it was shot by the amazing David Klein. David Klein shot Clerks, Clerks 2. He now shoots Mandalorian and all that kind of stuff. So Dave is amazing. You know, so my nickname for him is Iceman. Cool under pressure, no matter what. Can't rattle that man. And he's just Mr. Cool. And I'm happy that he's got, you know, these wonderful shows that he's on now. It's amazing. And then also who basically we had on the film there was Flounder from Animal House, which was amazing because I had seen that movie years and years before. So the fact that we had a chance to get him, and we also had, in like the film, William Zabka, better known as Johnny from The Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. And he came on for like a day and helped us out. But what was interesting is when we were in post-production, we were sitting there editing, and the lead actor, AJ Buckley, says, "Hey, I got a friend of mine, fellow Canadian. He's got some songs that I think might really work well for like the film. And do you mind if we stop by?" I was like, "Great." So I'm introduced to his friend, and his friend's name is Ryan. So here comes a disc. So I'm handed the disc, and the editor, pops it in, and we start to play the songs against parts of the film where we need music. And boy, did it work! It was like really good. And then we were like, "Wow, this really does sound good. This really fits." And then he also brought a guitar along. And in an edit bay, not much bigger than this room, Ryan performs a couple of songs that weren't on the disc. And we're sitting there listening to this guy, and he's playing for us like 6 feet away with such a commitment that his artistry and his integrity showed through right there. I'm like, I've never met this kid, but he's amazing. His commitment at 20 is off the charts. And everybody I said for years, everyone I meet, this guy, Ryan Gosling, is going to be a star someday. I was right. I was right.
Wow.
That's the thing, because I saw it firsthand. And he was amazing.
Yeah.
And he's the nicest guy.
Yeah, and that music has continued. We saw that
Yes.
at the Oscars,
Yes.
right? So.
Because he had a chance to join NSYNC.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? But he had to choose NSYNC or acting. He went with the acting.
Was that Roomies? Is that a separate
Yes.
project? Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's going to be the one that's.
That's coming out again, yeah.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Okay.
Now in HD.
HD, so look out for that. Can we talk about Smitty and your cast for
Sure.
that one? Okay.
So I sat at a Starbucks, and I sat there for 3 months, and I wrote a script called Smitty, a boy and dog movie. And I'm like, this is going to be great. I have a certain vibe that I want to do. I'm like, if I wanted to make an Oscar-level boy and dog movie, what would it be like? And so I wrote it as that might feel, and I put a lot of, attention into every role. And then next thing I know, I get somebody that says, "Hey," in fact, it was the same editor from the Roomies film, who says, "I just worked with this amazing director. If you don't wind up directing it yourself, you might want to talk to him." So it's like, okay, great. So I reached out to him, named David, and he was the director of a wonderful film called The Sandlot, which everyone knows, right? So I was like, okay, so now I had him. We had the script, and he liked the script. He agreed to come on board. And then with him on board, I had already had some money raised, but I hadn't bridged the rest of the cash. So I took it to a production company distributor that I knew. I said, I got this much money, I've got him, here's the script, I would produce, would you guys like to partner up? And luckily, they had just run into somebody that had access to money, and they said, great. And within 60 days, I was in Iowa prepping the film. And we got a wonderful cast that included Academy Award winner Maris Sorbino, and also Louis Gossett, who also has a Oscar as well. And then we also got two-time Oscar nominee Peter Fonda. I mean, on a movie that was almost $1 million. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So we did really well.
That's incredible, yeah.
With that cast. I mean, that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So that was a blessing.
Yeah, I know you also, we had talked before, and before you were producing and directing, like you did study and know a lot about the business of it, right? So knowing that, does it make it more special that these like big actors are signing on to indie projects like this?
Well, I mean, I've been to Sundance like 13 times, and I've been there 3 as a buyer, looking for films to buy. And I had sat in on Q&A after Q&A, and there's so many wonderful actors that really just are looking for good things to be in.
Yeah.
That's something they haven't done before, that's something that they can show their kids. Because a lot of times, a lot of actors do a lot of R-rated films that they've got family, that they can't even show the films to. So when you've got a family-safe movie like, Smitty, it was easy for them to jump on board, because they could show it to everybody with no, like, you can't watch this because there's no disclaimer that is needed, you know what I mean? They can just watch the movie. And plus we got 4 out of 5 doves for that film from the Dove Foundation.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So that was cool.
That's great. Okay, so it's so great that you've had all these projects in the past and then some of them that are re-releasing.
Yeah.
But you have some new ones coming up too, right?
Yes.
Can we talk about, are you allowed to talk about, is it the Suburban Gangsters?
Yes. In other words,
Okay.
there's a script that I wrote called Suburban Gangsters, and we've got traction on that one. We're just trying to close the funding. I got a bunch of young people that live up in a house in like the hills that really loved the script. They loved it. In other words, so I went to a meeting with them, and it was a house full of musicians and actors who know everybody. And it's one of those things where it's just like they were saying, hey, what about my friend here? He's got like 4 million, fans, and what about this one here? She's got 12 million fans, and I'm like, well, what? So there's all these people that we could put into the movie because it's a very big cast.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So it's about 4 teenage kids getting rich throwing underground house parties.
Where are we in production?
Oh, we are at the point of, as soon as we closed the funding, I could be shooting within 60 to 90 days.
Oh, really? That's exciting.
Yes.
So that's this year's project for sure.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay. You've got another 2 that I have here. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Blood Walkers and Back to the World. Can you tell us about those?
Blood Walkers is basically my entry into the world of vampires. And I love movies like Lost Boys, Blade, Underworld, and all that kind of stuff. But I also like movies like Lethal Weapon. So the main guy is a cop. And unfortunately, his kid, his teenage girl, meets the vampires at like the mall, and it turns into she begins to hang out with them. And once they get a hold of her, they don't want to give her back. Now he teams up with a vampire hunter to go hunt them down and get his kid back. And it's designed to be, from a story perspective, a trilogy.
Okay.
And other things as well. In other words, that's my retirement movie.
Oh, really?
That's my retirement movie. That's one of those things where I can have 10 or 20 years of different parts of that becoming its own movie. Because the cast is so big.
Yeah.
And the characters are interesting. So it could be almost like an underworld, you know, and it's fun. And it goes global.
Yeah.
Because vampires aren't just in the States. They're around the world.
Yeah.
So we could do one movie here, one movie here, one movie there.
Yep. That's exciting. And then I have Back to the World.
Back to the World is a wonderful story
Very
about
different,
it's a true story about a Vietnam vet who I got to interview, and it's also based on a short story that's in a book by Porter Freeman, who allowed me to write the screenplay. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful film. That could be potential Oscar bait for those actors.
Wow, that's incredible. So thank you so much for sharing all that. And
Thank you.
You've had so many years of experience. Do you have any advice for any young filmmakers or writers or producers, maybe even actors, that you've picked up throughout the years?
Practice.
Practice.
In other words, there's no greater time to make movies than now, between the iPhone, between free DaVinci Resolve, a laptop, lights that are $100 to $200 each, microphones that you can buy with where they can record directly to it for under $200 each and get great sound. And basically, there's nothing that stops you, because those paywalls are no longer there. Where when I shot my first feature film, just on film alone, it was $33,000 to purchase 75 rolls of film. It was $9,000 more to run it all through just like the lab. It was $7,500 more to telecine it to a tape to where we could ingest it into the Avid so we can even start to edit. Now all of those steps are eliminated by SD cards.
Yeah.
And it's so easy now. It ain't even fair.
You're like, where was this when I was...
Right. I could have gotten so many more things done
Yeah.
because it's never been easier.
Yeah.
So, and with wonderful streaming sites like Tubi, that now has like 73 or 74 million subscribers, you just place your movie there and you're making money.
Yeah.
So it's no longer a thing you have to have somebody buy it or license it, because they don't want to pay out $100,000 to $200,000, and now you can do it completely for practically no cost.
Yeah.
And then let the people decide.
Yeah. There you go. That was great advice. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. It was really great to talk to you, and you have so many projects coming out this year alone, right?
Yes.
With the re-release and then with your production that you're going
4 of
to.
them.
Four.
4
Where
and
can
24.
we find you? Where can we find you on your website and your socials?
Facebook, Michael Baumgarten, or Instagram, MB Filmmaker 1.
Production name? Your question?
Bowfin Lane Entertainment.
Perfect. Awesome. It was lovely to talk to you, and thank you so much for everyone at Maeya TV for watching. Stay tuned for more. Thank you.